The true art of attraction isn't found in superficial games or external displays of worth. Real power lies in authentic communication, the kind that stems from inner balance and self-confidence built through self-knowledge. Think about it for a moment. What truly attracts a woman isn't rehearsed lines or artificial techniques, but rather the presence of a man who knows his own value and naturally conveys it in every word he speaks. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 simple yet profoundly impactful phrases that function as declarations of your personal worth. These aren't cheap seduction tricks, but rather reflections of an internal transformation that, when genuine, generates a magnetic attraction. They are affirmations that invite introspection and provoke a shift in relationship dynamics, placing you in command of your own narrative. This concept is rooted in Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that values self-control, mental clarity, and the recognition of one's own worth. The Stoics teach us that true strength isn't in dominating others, but in mastering oneself, one's thoughts, emotions, and reactions. When you apply these principles in your interactions with women, you transcend the clichés of modern seduction and establish more meaningful and lasting connections. The approach I'm going to present isn't based on manipulation or emotional games, but rather on developing an authentic masculine presence that naturally sparks interest. It's a form of communication that honors both you and the woman you're interacting with, creating space for healthier and more satisfying relationships for both of you. To deeply understand the power of these 3 phrases, we first need to explore the philosophical and psychological roots that underpin their effectiveness. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we shouldn't try to control what's beyond our reach, but rather focus on what we can directly influence, our own attitudes and perceptions. When we apply this wisdom to relationships, we stop trying to manipulate or impress the other person and begin to work on our own excellence. Emotional balance is the foundation of any authentic interaction. A woman can perceive, even if unconsciously, when a man is centered in himself and when he's desperate for external validation. The difference is palpable in the energy you transmit, the tone of your voice, and the confidence in your words. The Stoics called this ataraxia, a state of tranquility and imperturbability that arises when you don't depend on the approval of others to feel complete. Marcus Aurelius, another great figure of Stoicism, wrote in his Meditations about the importance of maintaining dignity, regardless of external circumstances. This principle, when applied to romantic relationships, completely transforms their dynamics. You stop being the one who chases and become the one who naturally attracts, simply by being who you are, without masks or pretensions. This mastery of one's own emotions doesn't mean suppressing or denying them, but rather understanding and channeling them consciously. It's knowing when to express vulnerability without appearing weak, when to show interest without appearing desperate, when to set boundaries without appearing defensive. It's a subtle dance that requires self-knowledge and constant practice. Cultivating self-respect is another fundamental pillar of this approach. When you respect yourself, your values, your time, your boundaries, you naturally inspire respect in others. Women are particularly sensitive to this quality in a man. They may not verbalize it, but they are instinctively attracted to those who have the courage to defend their principles, even when it means being alone. The Stoic principles of accepting challenges and seeking serenity in the face of adversity also apply directly to love life. We all face rejections and disappointments, but it's our attitude towards these obstacles that defines our character and, consequently, our attractiveness. A man who maintains his composure, even when things don't go as planned, demonstrates an inner strength that is extremely magnetic. By adopting this philosophical stance, you not only transform your love life, but become an example of integrity and leadership in all areas. Your friends will notice the difference in your presence, your co-workers will respect your opinions more, and your family will perceive a positive change in your behavior. It's a domino effect that begins with an internal change and expands to all your relationships. The 3 phrases I'm going to share with you aren't magic formulas, but rather verbal manifestations of an internal state. They work because they reflect a genuine transformation in the way you perceive yourself and relate to the world. They are powerful statements that communicate value, establish emotional connection, and invite reciprocity. Each phrase is like a personal manifesto that reaffirms your worth, creates authentic emotional bridges, and establishes a dynamic of mutual discovery. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, with conviction, naturalness, and a tranquility that only comes when your words are aligned with your true self. The structure of these phrases has been carefully crafted to convey subliminal messages of confidence and authenticity. They follow a pattern that appeals to both the rational and emotional sides of communication, creating a multidimensional impact that lingers in the memory long after the conversation ends. Now let's explore each of these powerful phrases in detail, starting with the first, which firmly establishes your value and individuality. The first phrase is, "I appreciate your company, but I don't need it to feel complete." This statement may seem simple at first glance, but it carries transformative power. When you communicate clearly that you know your own worth and aren't available for emotional games or empty social conventions, you immediately create a distinction. In a world where most men place themselves in a position of need or desperation, in front of an attractive woman, your attitude of emotional independence stands out like a beacon in the darkness. Think about the interactions you witness daily. Most men approach women from a position of neediness, needing approval, attention, or validation. This emotional dependence creates an unbalanced dynamic from the start, where the man is willing to compromise his values and his well-being just to maintain feminine interest. It's a common but fatal trap for any possibility of building a genuine and lasting connection. When you utter this first phrase, you are effectively reversing this dynamic. You're not saying you don't care or that you're indifferent. On the contrary, you're recognizing the value of her company, but also affirming your completeness as an individual. This posture communicates inner strength and emotional stability, qualities that are extremely attractive to a woman seeking a partner, not an emotional dependent. The ability to set clear boundaries and demonstrate confidence in your own convictions creates an aura of respect and mystery around you. Women are naturally attracted to men who aren't desperate for attention, who have a full life regardless of whether they're in a relationship. It's the classic law of attraction: the less you chase, the more you attract. This statement also serves as a natural filter. It wards off those who seek only to manipulate or exploit male insecurities, while attracting women who are inspired by a man who knows what he wants and doesn't succumb to social pressures or emotional games. It's a way of naturally selecting partners who are at the same level of emotional maturity as you. The way you pronounce this phrase is as important as its content. It should be said with conviction, but without arrogance, with firmness, but without aggression. Your tone of voice should convey emotional stability and self-confidence, as if you were simply stating a fact about yourself, not trying to prove something or impress. Stoic teachings remind us that true strength isn't in controlling others, but in having dominion over our own emotions and reactions. When you communicate this emotional independence, you're demonstrating a form of power that is rare and therefore extremely valuable in the world of relationships. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that happiness consists in living according to nature, which means in modern terms, living authentically and in harmony with your core values. When you express this first phrase, you are aligning your communication with this profound philosophical principle, demonstrating an integrity that is instantly perceptible. This approach contrasts sharply with conventional seduction techniques, which often encourage psychological games or the creation of false personas to impress. The authenticity you demonstrate by expressing your intrinsic worth without depending on external validation creates a magnetic presence that is much more powerful than any rehearsed technique. Imagine the feeling of liberation when you truly embody this mentality, when you genuinely don't depend on her response to feel good about yourself. This emotional freedom is palpable and transformative, not only for your romantic interactions, but for your entire life. It's the first step towards building relationships based on mutual choice, not on need or dependence. Now let's move on to the second powerful phrase, the one that establishes an authentic emotional connection and demonstrates relational maturity. The second phrase is, "What you just said made me feel, and I'm curious to better understand your perspective." This phrase is a portal to a completely different dimension of communication, the emotional dimension. In a world where interactions between men and women often remain on the surface, the ability to create a genuine emotional bridge stands out as a precious rarity. This phrase simultaneously demonstrates your ability to be in touch with your own emotions and your genuine interest in her emotions and thoughts. The first part of the phrase, "What you just said made me feel," requires courage. It's an act of controlled vulnerability, where you reveal the emotional impact her words had on you. Note that we're not talking about an uncontrolled emotional outburst or an exaggerated display of feelings. It's a measured and conscious expression where you clearly name what you're feeling without drama or manipulation. This ability to identify and express emotions is surprisingly rare, especially among men. Many have been conditioned to suppress or ignore their feelings, creating an emotional barrier that hinders deep connections. Others go to the opposite extreme, using emotions as a tool for manipulation or demonstrating a disproportionate emotional intensity that scares or overwhelms. The balance you demonstrate by using this phrase, acknowledging your emotions without being controlled by them, communicates an emotional maturity that is extremely attractive. You're showing that you're secure enough in your masculinity to be honest about your feelings, but also disciplined enough to express them appropriately. The second part of the phrase, "And I'm curious to better understand your perspective," perfectly complements the first by shifting the focus to her, demonstrating a genuine interest in her worldview. You're not just talking about yourself, you're creating space for her to express herself too, initiating a dance of emotional reciprocity. This authentic curiosity is a powerful aphrodisiac. In a world where most people are waiting for their turn to speak, instead of actually listening, your focused attention becomes a rare and valuable gift. You're communicating that you value not only her physical appearance, but also her mind, her thoughts, her emotions, her essence as a person. The Stoic philosopher Seneca emphasized the importance of empathy and understanding in human relationships. He believed that true connection arises when we allow ourselves to see the world through the eyes of another. This phrase embodies that ancient wisdom, creating a space for mutual understanding that transcends the superficial interactions typical of first encounters. Amidst an ocean of superficial interactions, the ability to listen attentively and share feelings in a balanced way stands out as an island of authenticity. Women often report that one of the most attractive qualities in a man is his ability to be emotionally present, to truly listen and respond genuinely, rather than simply waiting for his turn to speak or thinking about the next clever thing to say. By using this phrase, you not only reveal your sensitive side, but also show that you're capable of maintaining emotional control even in charged situations. This combination of vulnerability and strength creates a magnetic tension that is fundamentally attractive. You're demonstrating that you're secure enough in your masculinity to open up, but also strong enough not to get lost in your emotions. This approach, grounded in empathy and honesty, lays the foundation for a relationship that has emotional depth, something that is valued by women seeking more than fleeting encounters. You're signaling from the outset that you're available for a real connection, not just for superficial or purely physical interactions. The way you pronounce this phrase also carries great significance. It should be said with a combination of openness and balance. Your voice firm but warm, your gaze direct but receptive. It's important to maintain a relaxed and present posture, communicating with your whole being that you're genuinely interested in the emotional exchange you're proposing. This communication that mixes sensitivity with inner strength creates a particularly attractive dynamic. Women often seek men who can be both protective and understanding, both strong and sensitive. By demonstrating these seemingly contradictory qualities, you stand out as a complex and intriguing man, someone worth getting to know in greater depth. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations about the importance of maintaining inner calm, even when we express strong emotions. This wisdom is particularly relevant when we apply our second powerful phrase. You're creating a space for authentic, emotional expression, but at the same time maintaining a center of tranquility that anchors the interaction. In a world where the extremes of male communication oscillate between complete emotional coldness and uncontrolled emotional outbursts, your balanced approach stands out as a beacon of maturity. You're not denying your emotions nor being dominated by them. You're using them as a bridge to a deeper connection. This ability to navigate the emotional territory deftly, while maintaining a sense of direction and purpose, is extremely rare and therefore extremely valuable. Women instinctively recognize and respect this combination of sensitivity and strength, responding to it with increasing interest and openness. Now let's get to know the third and final powerful phrase, the one that invites reciprocity and mutual exploration, elevating the interaction to a new level of possibilities. The third phrase is, "There's something about you that sparks my curiosity, and I believe we could create something interesting together." This phrase functions as a subtle invitation for her to actively engage in building a transformative connection. It's not an explicit proposal or a declaration of intentions. It's an opening, a space of possibilities that you two can explore together as co-creators of a shared experience. The first part, "There's something about you that sparks my curiosity," communicates an attraction that goes beyond the superficial. You're not just complimenting her physical appearance, something she probably hears often, but recognizing a deeper quality, something unique in her essence that has captured your attention. This approach is infinitely more impactful than generic compliments or those focused exclusively on external beauty. This phrase also carries an element of mystery. You're not specifying exactly what sparked your curiosity, leaving room for her to wonder and perhaps ask you what exactly you saw in her that others haven't. This mutual curiosity creates a magnetic field between you, a positive tension that keeps interest alive and pulsating. The second part of the phrase, "And I believe we could create something interesting together," extends an invitation for co-creation. Note that you're not promising specific results or making grandiose statements about the future. You're simply recognizing the potential that exists when two people decide to explore a connection consciously and intentionally. This reference to creating something together also elevates the interaction beyond the ordinary. You're suggesting a partnership, a shared journey, rather than simply pursuing or conquering. This shift in perspective is deeply appealing to women who want to be active participants in a relationship, not just objects of desire or conquest. Epictetus taught that we should focus on things that are within our control, and one of those things is how we choose to frame our interactions. By using this third phrase, you're consciously choosing to frame the potential relationship as a shared creative adventure, a joint exploration of possibilities rather than a game of chase and capture. This phrase also works as an incentive for her to see the potential relationship beyond the superficial. You're signaling from the outset that you're interested in something more meaningful than a casual encounter, something that can be transformative for both of you, a catalyst for mutual growth and discovery. The power of this phrase lies in its ability to create positive anticipation. By suggesting that something interesting can be created together, you plant a seed of possibility in her mind. Even in your physical absence, this idea continues to grow, making her think about you and the possibilities you represent in her life. When spoken with authenticity, this phrase conveys an energy that lingers long after the conversation ends. Your individuality, the unique combination of qualities, values, and perspectives you bring, becomes a point of fascination that stimulates curiosity and the desire for closeness. It's important to understand that this phrase isn't about creating dependence or manipulating emotions. It's the exact opposite. You're demonstrating that true seduction isn't related to possession or control, but to the ability to inspire, to spark curiosity, to invite joint exploration of an unknown territory. The way you deliver this phrase is also crucial to its impact. It should be spoken with a combination of quiet confidence and contained enthusiasm, like someone who has glimpsed an intriguing possibility and is genuinely curious to explore it, without excessive attachment to the outcome. Your gaze when saying this phrase should be direct but not invasive, your posture relaxed but present, your voice clear but not insistent. Your entire body language should communicate that you're offering a possibility, not imposing an expectation, creating space for her to make a free and authentic choice. This invitation to co-creation establishes from the outset a dynamic of reciprocity that manifests in both the emotional field and everyday interaction. You're setting a precedent of partnership and mutual exploration that can become the basis for a balanced and satisfying relationship for both of you. The Stoic philosopher Heracles described the concentric circles of human connection, suggesting that we should constantly work to bring those in outer circles closer to the center. This third powerful phrase embodies that philosophy, creating an intentional movement towards a deeper and more meaningful connection. When you combine the three phrases, the affirmation of your value and individuality, the creation of an authentic emotional bridge, and the invitation to co-creation and reciprocity, you establish a solid foundation for any potential relationship. Each phrase represents a fundamental aspect of deep human communication, and together they create an interaction experience that is memorable and impactful. The transformation that occurs when you incorporate these three phrases into your communication isn't limited to romantic relationships. It extends to all areas of your life. By taking responsibility for your own emotions and communicating with authenticity, you become an example of integrity and leadership in any social context. In the workplace, this same approach of clear, emotionally intelligent, and co-creation-oriented communication can transform team dynamics and boost your career. Colleagues and superiors naturally respect and trust someone who knows their own worth, expresses emotions in a balanced way, and creates spaces for genuine collaboration. In friendships, these same communicative qualities elevate the depth and authenticity of connections. Friends value the emotional honesty and absence of manipulative games you demonstrate. Your ability to set healthy boundaries while remaining open and receptive creates a safe space for meaningful relationships. In family relationships, this approach can heal old wounds and establish new, healthier interaction patterns. By communicating your intrinsic worth without arrogance, expressing emotions without drama, and inviting the co-creation of new dynamics, you can transform even the most challenging family relationships. This internal transformation is reflected in all areas of your life, creating a positive domino effect. By aligning your speech with your attitudes, you not only gain admiration and respect, but also become an agent of change, inspiring others to embrace their own values and strive for their best selves. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus emphasized that our words should reflect our character and our deepest convictions. When there is coherence between what we say and who we are, our communication acquires a transformative power that transcends techniques or strategies. To effectively apply the three powerful phrases in your daily life, it's important to practice in different contexts and situations. Start by incorporating them into casual conversations, observing how small changes in your communication can generate significant impacts on relationship dynamics. For example, when meeting someone new at a social event, instead of falling into the common pattern of trying to impress or please at all costs, try subtly communicating that you're comfortable in your own skin. An adapted version of the first phrase could be, "I'm enjoying our conversation, but I'm also fine with meeting other people at this event," communicating that you value the interaction without depending on it for your social validation. In a deeper discussion, you can practice the second phrase to create emotional connection. "What you said about your professional experiences made me feel inspired, and I'm curious to better understand how you developed that unique perspective." This approach immediately creates a different level of conversation, where both can share insights and experiences more authentically. When developing mutual interest, you can adapt the third phrase. "There's something about the way you approach challenges that really resonates with me. I think we have complementary perspectives that could create really interesting conversations." This type of communication establishes a foundation for connections that continue to evolve naturally, without pressure or artificial expectations. Consistent practice of these affirmations not only improves your communication, but also helps consolidate a behavior pattern that reflects authenticity. Over time, you will naturally stand out for your clarity and confidence in social interactions, without having to resort to artificial or manipulative techniques. A fundamental aspect of this practice is active listening. For these phrases to be truly effective, they must be accompanied by a genuine ability to listen and respond to what the other person is communicating, both verbally and non-verbally. Pay attention to reactions, adapt your approach as needed, and stay present in the moment rather than getting stuck in a predetermined script. Emotional feedback, both yours and hers, is a valuable compass in this process. Observe how you feel when using these phrases. Is there a sense of alignment and authenticity? Also observe how she responds. Is there increasing openness, a sparkle in her eyes, an energy of interest and curiosity? These subtle signs offer valuable information about the effectiveness of your communication. Remember that the goal is not to manipulate or control, but to create a space where authentic connections can flourish naturally. When your words and actions are aligned with your deepest values, you create an atmosphere where healthy and mutually enriching relationships can develop organically. As you become more fluent in this language of authenticity, you will find that women respond differently to your presence. It's not that you've learned tricks or techniques. It's that you've transformed into a man who naturally attracts through his integrity, his emotional presence, and his ability to create spaces where meaningful connections can occur. True attraction doesn't happen instantly or through superficial manipulations. It's the result of conscious work of self-knowledge and inner development that is naturally reflected in the way you interact with the world. When there is coherence between what you say and who you are, authenticity becomes the basis for true and meaningful relationships. By incorporating these 3 powerful phrases into your daily communication, you're not just adopting a method of seduction, you're fundamentally transforming your way of relating to women and to the world around you. This transformation isn't just about romantic conquest. It's about becoming the best version of yourself and creating relationships that reflect that inner excellence. The impact of this approach transcends the romantic field and extends to all areas of your life. When you communicate from a place of authenticity and inner strength, all your relationships, professional, family, friendship, benefit from this same quality of presence and connection. It's important to remember that this is not a quick or superficial process. It requires consistent practice, honest self-observation, and a willingness to grow. There will be moments of challenge and doubt, but each interaction becomes an opportunity for learning and refinement, a step on the journey of self-knowledge and communicative mastery. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said that first we must learn the principles, then live according to them. You now know the fundamental principles of powerful and authentic communication with women. The next step is to incorporate them into your daily life, transforming them from intellectual concepts into a natural expression of your being. Start by practicing one phrase at a time in low-pressure contexts until it becomes comfortable and natural. Observe the results, adjust your approach as needed, and gradually integrate all 3 phrases into your communicative repertoire. Over time, they will cease to be techniques you apply and become genuine expressions of your evolved personality. Remember that true power isn't in the specific words, but in the intention and authenticity behind them. The exact phrases can be adapted to your personal style and the specific context of each interaction. What matters is that they communicate the fundamental principles: knowledge of one's own worth, ability to establish authentic emotional connection, and openness to co-create something meaningful. The journey you are embarking on is transformative in every sense. As you incorporate these 3 phrases into your life, you will notice profound changes, not only in your romantic relationships, but in your entire existence. Your posture, your gaze, your tone of voice, everything communicates a new presence, a different energy that naturally draws people into your orbit. This internal transformation creates an aura of natural magnetism that transcends artificial techniques or manipulations. You no longer need to chase or convince. Your authentic presence does the work for you, naturally attracting those who resonate with your values and your energy. It's a paradigm shift in the way you approach relationships. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true happiness comes from living virtuously, in harmony with our essential nature. When your words and actions flow from an internal source of self-knowledge and integrity, you experience a deep satisfaction that doesn't depend on external results. Success with women becomes a natural side effect of your personal growth, not the main goal. These 3 powerful phrases, the affirmation of your intrinsic worth, the creation of authentic emotional bridges, and the invitation to co-creation, form a triad of communication that, when mastered, completely transforms your presence in the world. They are not tools for manipulation, but verbal expressions of a genuine internal transformation. The great masters of Stoicism, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, all emphasize the importance of coherence between thoughts, words, and actions. This integration creates a powerful presence that naturally sparks respect and interest. When you speak from this place of internal alignment, your words carry a weight and resonance that go far beyond memorized techniques. Many men spend their lives seeking external approval, especially from the women they desire. This constant search for validation creates an energy of neediness that is instinctively perceived and often rejected. By shifting your focus to internal development and authentic communication, you completely reverse this dynamic, becoming naturally attractive without conscious effort. Observe how the relationships around you begin to change when you incorporate these three phrases into your daily communication. Casual interactions become more meaningful, superficial connections gain depth, and new possibilities open up naturally. You're no longer trying to get something from women. You're creating spaces where authentic connections can flourish organically. True communicative mastery isn't in having the right answers or the perfect phrases for every situation, but in being so connected to your inner truth that your words flow naturally, with authenticity and presence. This fluidity only comes with consistent practice and honest self-observation, observing your patterns, noticing when you fall into old habits, and consciously choosing to return to this new paradigm of communication. It's crucial to understand that these three phrases are not an end in themselves, but gateways to a new way of being. They are verbal manifestations of fundamental values: self-knowledge, authentic emotional connection, and co-creation, which, when truly embodied, transform not only your words but your entire presence in the world. As you move forward on this journey, you will encounter challenges and obstacles. There will be moments of doubt, situations where you will be tempted to return to old communication patterns based on insecurity or the need for approval. In these moments, take a deep breath, reconnect with your core values, and remember that each interaction is an opportunity for practice and refinement. One final reflection. True attraction isn't about how many women you can attract, but about the quality of the connections you are able to create. When your communication comes from a place of authenticity and integrity, you naturally attract people who resonate with those same values, creating the foundation for relationships that are not only passionate and exciting, but also deep, meaningful, and lasting. The three phrases I shared with you today are keys that open doors to a new way of being and relating. Use them not as tools of manipulation, but as genuine expressions of a new relational awareness. And remember, true mastery isn't in saying the right words, but in becoming the kind of man whose presence naturally inspires fascination, respect, and yes, even obsession. Authenticity, combined with communication grounded in emotional balance and the valuing of one's own being, is the master key capable of opening the doors to success, not only in the romantic field, but in all areas of existence. This is the true secret that transcends fleeting techniques and seduction fads: the ability to be fully present, integrally authentic, and open to connections that transform both you and the other person. In this journey of self-knowledge and communicative development, each interaction becomes an opportunity for growth and refinement. There are no failures, only feedback that helps you adjust your approach and deepen your understanding of relationship dynamics. With practice and awareness, you will develop a natural intuition that will guide you in each unique situation, allowing your words and actions to flow organically and authentically. The integration between Stoic philosophy and the daily practice of affirming your worth, creating deep emotional connections, and inviting reciprocity works as a guide to transform not only romantic relationships, but your entire way of communicating and behaving. This holistic approach creates an internal coherence that manifests in all aspects of your life, from your most intimate interactions to your professional and social presence. By taking control of your own internal narrative, you learn to use these three phrases not as empty mantras, but as powerful instruments of self-transformation. They become anchors that keep you connected to your core values, even in challenging or emotionally charged situations. Over time, They cease to be something you say to become natural expressions of who you are. Every word we utter carries not only its literal meaning, but also the energy and intention behind it. When we speak from a place of neediness, manipulation, or insecurity, that energy is transmitted, regardless of how well crafted our words are. Similarly, when we speak from a place of authenticity, inner strength, and genuine interest, that energy creates a magnetic field that naturally attracts and inspires. True transformative communication happens on multiple levels simultaneously: the verbal, the soothsayers, emotional, the energetic. The three powerful phrases I shared with you are gateways to a mode of communication that integrates all these levels, creating an interaction experience that is memorable, impactful, and potentially transformative for both parties. It's important to remember that the process of incorporating these phrases into your life is not linear, but spiral. You will revisit the same themes and challenges repeatedly, but each time from a higher level of understanding and integration. What initially requires conscious effort eventually becomes second nature, a spontaneous expression of your evolved being. As you advance on this journey of communicative and personal development, you will discover that women respond to you in ways that may seem almost magical. Doors that once seemed closed open naturally, resistances dissolve effortlessly, and deep connections form with an ease that once seemed impossible. Not because you have learned tricks or techniques, but because you have fundamentally transformed as a man. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of this approach is its sustainability. Unlike manipulative techniques that eventually wear out or are discovered, communication based on authenticity and presence creates connections that not only survive the test of time, but deepen and enrich with it. You are not building facades that eventually crumble, but solid foundations that support lasting and meaningful relationships. The Stoic philosopher Heracles spoke of concentric circles of connection, with the self at the center, followed by close family, distant relatives, local community, and so on. He suggested that we should constantly work to pull those in outer circles closer to the center. The three powerful phrases you have learned are tools for exactly this process, creating bridges that allow others to approach your inner circle genuinely and meaningfully. By putting these transformative phrases into practice, you are participating in an ancient tradition of authentic communication and personal development that dates back to the great philosophers and masters of all cultures. This is not just a strategy for conquering women, but a path of growth and evolution that enriches all aspects of your existence. In a world saturated with superficiality and inauthentic communication, your ability to create genuine and meaningful connections becomes a superpower. You naturally stand out not by being taller, richer, or more handsome than other men, but by being more present, more authentic, and more capable of creating spaces where real connections can flourish. This journey of self-discovery and communicative mastery is continuous and infinitely rewarding. Each interaction, each relationship, each connection experience becomes an opportunity for learning and refinement. There is no end point, only increasingly deeper levels of understanding, presence, and authenticity. As you say goodbye to old patterns based on insecurity and the need for approval, you open space for a new relational paradigm grounded in self-knowledge, genuine connection, and co-creation. This is the true power of the three transformative phrases, not as isolated techniques, but as verbal manifestations of a way of being that naturally attracts, inspires, and yes, even obsesses.